Hey, welcome back to the channel. So today I want to do something a little different. And normally I'll show you off a tool or talk about one of my writer's bookshelf entries, or maybe even show off a new thing I'm working on. And I don't want to necessarily ignore that in this video, but I do want to talk about something I've been noticing a lot coming up lately. I've been this past year, just in order to work on my website and just trying to make myself a little more professional as an author. I've been going to this place called AppSumo, which you've never heard of it, and if you are like an entrepreneur, you should absolutely check it out. What it does is basically they give you these lifetime deals for basically introductory prices on apps that are kind of new. They're in the process of maturing, but they're not there yet, and so the service gives you access to these tools, as a way to kind of help boost their clientele or their need to perform, but it's also a good way to give feedback, so they can learn how to improve their product, so that when they actually sell to the subscription market, they have a good product worth selling. I think it's a great. I've spent I think over 30 deals right now. I've spent way more money than I should have, but it's just something I really recommend if you are someone who's in the entrepreneur space, if you're running whether it's online businesses or whatever. It's just a good way to kind of keep up with all of your accounts. They have software on there for account management. They have keyword searches. They have website builders. They have plugins for WordPress, security plugins. They have all these different things. It's just and all again for usually between $39 and $99. Is the average going rate for what they call lifetime deals, which means you buy it for whatever price you pay, and then you get to keep it forever. And then if they stack, like there's some of them have stacks models where one code will get you, let's say, 3,000 views a month. Code 2, for double the price will give you 8,000. So they basically compound on it. There's one I got recently. It's one of those automation tools, which I'm still trying to figure out how to use. But they give you a 4,000 task limit for a month. For what was it? I think I spent 99 on it, and then of course I let it lapse and go to the next pricing plan. But I ended up getting a second code where you tack on another 4,000, so now I can do 8,000 a month, and I don't ever have to pay them another dime, and I can still get 8,000 actions per month. So that's the kind of thing that AppSumo is, and if you are interested in trying to improve your site, your business, whatever it is, I do recommend you take a look at it, because it'll save you a lot of money in the long run. You could technically get some inferior products. Not every product pans out, so there's a little bit of a gamble when doing it. That's why it's always a good idea to read the reviews, ask the questions, go to their website, again, doing research on the things that you're looking at. Because I think it's important to know what you're buying, and also give yourself some time to think it through whether or not you actually need it. What I do is I base it off of the possibility of needing something. So there's one I'm looking at right now called Gravitech, which is a push notification tool that you have on your website. And what that does is it lets people who come to your site, that gives them the option to subscribe to push notifications, so that if you ever have an update, it'll alert them. I personally would never, ever subscribe to a push notification, because I think it's intrusive and I hate them. And so the idea that I would actually consider buying something like this is absolutely absurd. But then I have to think of it in terms of a person like who owns a business. Well, I might not want it, but maybe maybe there are readers out there who want that information. If I ever find a super fan, they may want to know when the next book is out, and for them that push notification might actually be useful. And what's good about it is they have to sign up for it. You don't just give it to them because they visited your site. They have to want to be on that list, kind of like your email list. And that brings me to today's topic, sort of tangentially. It's an app that I don't know that I would ever use myself as a user, but as an owner, I think there's a lot of benefit in that, so that's why I'm considering maybe buying it. Because again, who am I to judge what people want for their notifications? Just because I may not be into doing something a certain way doesn't mean others aren't. So for me to not buy it would probably be, might be leaving money on the table. Now, will I make my return on investment? That's another story because, again, I sell books, and again, those of you who have watched all my videos know that I'm not a really hot seller right now. I'm trying to get myself there, but it's going to take a while. It's nothing that happens overnight. It's nothing that happens without a lot of hard work and, maybe even a little extra help. So any money I spend on my site or on my business like this year, it's going to take a long time for the ROI to come through. But my hope is that it will. And that's why I still invest in these things and why I'm still willing to even invest in something like push notification alerts because, again, who am I to judge what other people want? The whole reason why I have the tools I have is because, it just may be that for that person, it's useful. For me, I would never use it, but that's me. So, the reason why I bring all that up is one of the hot things right now on AppSumo is these AI content writers, and there's one right now called Email Writer that looks interesting to me. And what that does, it's like AI assistant email writing. And as someone who has an email list, and I'm not getting anyone to sign up really, so I don't quite know how effective my list is. I just know that the subscriber who signed up, the subscriber who's signed up since I've rebranded my email, they've got through maybe 6 out of the 10 emails that I have in the queue. And, I don't know if that's just them. Maybe they sign on for a different purpose, because one of the things with SendFox, which is the email provider I use, I just actually learned this recently. They have a kind of their own little ad system where, like, if somebody subscribes to your page, they also get access to 3 other recommendations for newsletters they can sign up with that they might like. Now, is it content related? Usually no, but it's a very strange way it works. But what I didn't realize is that it goes the other way. Sometimes other people's newsletters may recommend me. So I don't know if a subscriber's coming in organically through my own systems or if they're coming in from a referral, which I think the answer is no, because I think I have a metric for referral, and that's remained 0. So I don't think it's ever happened. So which means the one subscriber I have may have been one of you guys from YouTube, because that's the only other thing I can think of, because I know it didn't come through my website, and I don't think it came through my books. So if it's one of you, thank you. I open more emails essentially. Now, anyway, the point going back to the email writer is, again, it looks really useful because it looks like it's targeting certain keywords, certain ideas that convert, that keep readers reading. And I got to say, I'm very tempted to look into it to check it out, because I think that it's an interesting idea, but also if the templates work, why leave money on the table? And there's like a code where you can even save your emails into their own resource bank, so you can go back and refer to them. And of course, you can tweak them. It's not like you're stuck with what the computer gives you. You can certainly go and make your own adjustments. But where I worry about it is when it comes to email deliverability. I've been reading up a lot on deliverability, and I have a feeling that you have to also be careful with something like that, because sometimes emails don't deliver because of certain words you choose, like the word free, for example. I learned that using the word free in a email, especially like on a group email, has a good chance of landing you in the spam folder. Now, if the AI writer puts the word free in there, I mean, the AI writer may be setting you up to fail, basically. Even though the end result may look and sound really good, Google or whoever who's receiving your email may not like it, and they may say, you know what, in the trash you go. And good luck having your recipient dig into the trash to find your email. It's not effective if it goes in the trash. Now, I'm not saying that's what's going to happen with these things, but the reason I bring it up is I do worry that at some point the algorithms will pick up on the fact that this is a robot writing the email. In the short term, that might be really effective to kind of get, a quick turn and burn on your campaign. But if you're ever at a point where, it's just sounds like it's recycling templates, and the email providers sense a trend of word groups and all that. That's my worry, is at some point it's no longer going to be effective, and unless the content delivery systems improve their skills, there's a good chance that you may hit the spam box in time. So there's a bit of a risk there, and again, it's tempting, but how long will it last? I don't know. But this brings me to another one that I was just looking at, that actually I find really interesting. And let me just actually back up a little bit. There's one called Writer, which is actually going away as I record this, but it's been around most of the year. It's spelled RYTR, and it's a really cheap one. It's like $40, and it gives you pretty generous benefits. And it's there, I think, to help with content writing. And I think the only real limitation is the amount of words you can do in a month. But it's got over 1,000 reviews, and most deals are lucky to get 100. So the fact that this has gotten as many reviews as it has, and it's popular, tells me that there is definitely a space for content writing AI. One of my tools I actually do have, called Ocoya, does that for social media. And I'll at the end of this, I may show you guys what that looks like. If you stay tuned, and I'll give you a quick sample of that, because I don't want this video to be just talk. I do want to show you one of the benefits of it. But yeah, it's one of those things where it sounds really useful, but I'm thinking, okay, well, as a writer, as an actual professional writer, tutor, all that, is it ethical to have a content writer? And so the reason why I started thinking about this is that there's a video I just watched prior to recording this video. That's actually the reason why I'm doing this video. There's a new tool called Thunder Content Writer, I think it's called. Let me just do a quick check. Sorry, my memory is terrible. It's called Thunder Content. And what's interesting about it, and I gotta say, I'm tempted. You can write entire blogs using just AI, and by putting in a few keywords, putting in a few ideas, it can outline for you. It can do titles for you. It does a lot of stuff, and it's one of those things where, as a writer, I'm thinking, well, this is like if, let's say, a blacksmith handed his job over to a robot. Basically, like, here's the lump of steel, go make a hammer out of it. Press the button and it's done. Like, I feel like it's one of those kinds of situations. And I was watching the video review of the product, and the one thing I keep thinking of is, like, I don't think I would ever use this personally, because it's a robot's voice, right? It's not my voice. It's and this is where I think the question comes, is it ethical for a writer to use AI writing software, essentially letting the tool do all of his work for him? And it might be tempting as a writer to do that. I know, again, in the education department, teaching essays and all that, I'm sure my students would love a product like that, because it's actually pretty good. It covers a lot of, it goes into a lot of details that I probably myself wouldn't have thought of. And there's even a form of organization that makes sense. And, I always made the complaint that I don't think AI writing will ever take off, because robots can't detect intent. But, the thing is, if you get your algorithms right, if you keep tweaking it, at some point they can get close. And, the example I was watching, here we are in 2021, at the end of it, but nevertheless, it's still 2021. And, internet has been around for 26 years, 27 years. AI is older. AI I think is 60 years old now. But it's still evolving, right? And when we can do in 60 years what I saw in the video, it does kind of make me a little nervous that maybe my job is not as foolproof as I thought it was. But at the same time, there's still that question: does it really work if the voice still sounds like a robot? Well, they are practicing sounding more like human beings. But it goes back to what I was talking about with email writer, where at some point, how many different ways can a robot tell a story or give a snapshot of an idea and have it be unique to something else that somebody else who's writing that same category might end up with. And so at the end of the day, again, in the short term, it may work well. Is it ethical? It's debatable. But what it's not going to probably do is always be unique. It might be unique with some word variation, but I don't think it'll ever be truly unique as when it comes to writer's voice. Again, writer's voice is what the human being, the human brain is thinking, and the personality of the person coming through and establishing that level of voice. This is why, I know when I write my articles, I have to do it a certain way because that's me. Robots can't do what I do. They might actually write better content as far as information goes because they can pull more resources a lot faster. And so the example I was looking at, the reviewer was doing a video on weight loss and muscle mass, and the content writing tool did an excellent job pulling in all these different facts and organizing in a way that makes sense. Now, was it factual? I don't know. This is where, again, I commented, I did my writer's bookshelf, my one for January, just before this one. And so this will probably come out before that one does. So, bear with me. In that video, I talk about the idea of voice and the idea of using words in order to express your ideas clearly and all of that. But more importantly, I also use the idea of accountability to the words you choose. And you want to make sure that everything that goes into your work is accurate. You have a responsibility to tell the truth as a writer. And one of the things that I wonder about these content writers is, are they telling the truth? Now, they might pull in all the right facts, but are they putting it in the right order? Are they, so the example that I saw in the video, it almost looked like a step-by-step. Well, is that the step-by-step? Is that, and another question is, where does it get its information? I don't think there's a guy over at, Thunder Content who's putting in all of these different, facts about things. I mean, if that's his paid job, that sounds horrible. I'm sure it's scouring Google for all this information. And as a writer, I want to make sure that what I'm saying is not only accurate, but presented in a logical way. Now, what I liked about this content writer is it had an outline feature that actually made a lot of sense. And then when you plug in certain components into that the outline, it does sound like it's, with some user intervention, it could actually tell a pretty accurate article that's, keyword friendly, that does, that's sort of the point, is all this is for SEO, not necessarily for your novel. It's about trying to find readers, getting them to come to you because the search engines like what you wrote. That's sort of the point of these tools. So the question, going back to the point of why I'm doing this video, is it ethical to use a content writer as a writer? Because again, if you're a marketer, absolutely, that's the whole point of having these things. Is as a marketer, you want something to help you. As a writer, you might be tempted to say no. It's literally like a blacksmith throwing a lump of metal into a machine, pressing a button, and out popping several hammers. It's not fair. It's like, what's the point of being a blacksmith if the machine's doing all your work? And I have to push back a little bit because I think there is a way. And this Thunder Content, I think, is one of the best tools I've looked at that convinces me that, yes, there is a category of safety for a writer to use something like this. I don't think it's a good idea to use it for your main content. Whatever you're actually paid to do or what your brand is, I do not think that should be I don't think a robot should be doing that for you. I don't see anything wrong with a robot starting you off, again, with the outline. It may be that the outline is a good jumping off point. It does come to the problem where if you rely too heavily on AI, your brain will shrink. There's a book I read for one of my jobs positions a few months ago. I was installed in a classroom in order to be a support tutor, and the requirement is we had to read this book called The Shallows by Nicholas Carr, which, again, great book if you've never read it. And it talks about the idea of the artificial intelligence system kind of taking over and what it's doing to our brains. And I would advocate that you should always think first before you rely on any kind of tool like AI content writing and all that. You should always just use your brain first and make sure it works, to make sure you're not losing your ability to tell a story, or your ability to communicate with readers using your voice or your ideas. Where I think content writing does, content writing AI comes in handy is it does save time. Like if you just have to get something done, and you don't have the time to go through the process of thinking and writing, excuse me, then I could see where content writing might be a good way to kind of jump off. Or if you're writing for a particular system like SEO, that's a completely new discipline. And the only real way to know if you're writing for SEO is to use tools like this in order to kind of judge the grading. Because basically SEO is a robot judging your content for quality. What does the robot even know? Well, the only way you can really be good at that is to let another robot write the content for the robot that's speaking, right? Or that's searching. So basically SEO is just a group of robots talking to each other, and your site benefits for that. Your ideas mean nothing when it comes to SEO. That's just the way it is. Now your readers, of course, are people who are trying to get information. So it's weird because now, the people are learning from the robots. Whatever. But where I do think that even going beyond SEO and being useful to a writer like myself would be for research. Now, hear me out. The video I was watching, it was based on, again, weight loss and muscle mass. And even though I don't know what the accuracy of the content was that the robot was writing, I did find that it was interesting what it pulled into the research and the way it categorized it. I was thinking as I was watching, like, this would be a really good, useful tool for me to research content for books I'm writing. For example, there's one, I'm still a long way off from finishing it, much less releasing it. But it's, in order for me to be able to tell the story, I have to know a lot about apples, where they grow, what it's like to farm them. And I actually had a website that I bookmarked that gives me a long list of different things. Facts about apple orchards up in the Minnesota, Michigan area, and that which I two places I've never been to, and I don't ever plan on going. So it's good to be able to get the information that I can from these different sites. But I always wonder, well, do I have enough information from that particular source? Do I need more? This goes back to my original topic about the IRS and how it took me 2 years to get a hold of the public information officer in Washington in order to get the information I needed to make sure that my book would work, which turned out not really. There are things that I think were fine, but other things that I wish I hadn't been able to deal with prior to writing, which would have been useful if I'd been able to get access to that public information officer earlier. Or if I had access, to a lot more articles online, because again, this is 2005 that I wrote this book, and web was definitely going strong by that point, but there were not as many pages or facts online about things like that as there would be if I did it today. So having firsthand knowledge would have been nice. With there being billions of pages online now about different topics, if the robots can scour the entire internet for information and do it quickly, well, that saves me a lot of time, right? So I was thinking, if I had a tool like this in order to, let's say, write an article about apples, apple trees or apple, farming, whatever you want to call it, there's two things that can come out of it. One thing is I can have the research given right to me, mining all the different things out there. But the other thing that's more interesting is the idea of kind of collateral writing. It's like when you write for an audience, you're writing for your novels. But we're also, kind of taught in the writer space that we should, in our newsletters or our blogs, whatever, write about things that we're researching, write about, different, and I get the point of that. Like, let's say if I'm writing my apple tree book, it's not about apple trees. That's just sort of the backdrop. But if I'm writing a book where apples are, the main subject matter, then it might make sense to draw in, people who are interested in apples whoever they may be, into my world by coming up with an article based on apples. And there's no reason why I couldn't just use the research I found. Now, again, to avoid malpractice, I would still need to verify that the facts that come through are accurate. Ultimately, it's not saving that much more time because I'm still going to have to go and research. But what's interesting is at least now I know what to research and how to double check for the facts. And then, of course, I would have a finished product already, maybe need some tweaks, but basically ready to go for my blog or my newsletter, without really putting any extra effort into it. And that's where I think it's attractive and where it can save you time and still generate an audience, based on the subject matter you're writing about. So that's kind of where I'm at in my thinking as far as, is AI content writing ethical? I think it depends on the situation. I think when you are a content writer who has a voice, you should use your voice. I think if you're a paid writer writing for a client, you should do the writing yourself. I think if you're writing a novel or a how-to book or something, and you are an expert in the field, I think you need to do your own work. It doesn't hurt to have help organizing, to see, because again, if there's technology also includes human psychology. Like if the algorithms include human psychology, then the algorithms in a way might know better how to reach your audience than you do. And I don't think it's wise to leave money on the table if you know that you don't know your audience as well as you think you do, or you would like to know, and maybe the robot can figure it out. I mean, why not use the robot's help? I mean, this is what we have virtual assistants for, right? Why not have a robot assistant? So yeah, I'm not against it, but I think that I would never have a robot write my novels for me, because that's my job. If I'm a blogger, I wouldn't have a robot write my blogs for me because that's my job. But I might have a robot help me with research. I might have a robot give me an idea how to lay things out to maximize engagement. But again, it just depends too on what my mental needs are. Because anytime you rely on AI, you are deferring your mental abilities to that robot. And the more you do that, the weaker your brain will get. And so that's where I just, again, push back a little bit. These are useful tools to have in your corner, but I do not think any of us should rely on them all the time. I think that, like, drinking, should be moderation. Do it, when you need it, when you can afford to use it, when it's not going to diminish your output or ruin it or make it something that's not you. The other follow-up video I started watching, it was for another tool, Type AA, I think it's called. I kind of half watched the videos. I was setting up my curtain while I was watching it, but the thing that I noticed in the sample is that robot try to use a story, try to tell a story to get its point across, which again, very innovative. And when AI starts telling stories, I mean, marketers are out of a job. It's basically. But did it tell a very good story? Nah, not really. But more importantly, going back to the question of the ethics, is they kept using the word I. Like, I did this, I did that, when I was a boy, blah, blah, blah. Well, when you're a robot, you were never a boy. Pinocchio was not a robot, and he was a wooden puppet. So that's, if you're a wooden puppet, you can become a boy, apparently. That's the fable of Pinocchio. But no, robots are robots. They might be young AI, they might be, they might learn over time, but they are still AI. Their experiences are based off of what humans program, and then what comes of the programming. So, there is a machine learning component where, they may learn something that the humans haven't programmed, but it's still based on systems that humans did program. So at the end of the day, it's still a robot. It's not you. It's not a boy. It's not a man. It's not a woman. It's not a girl. It's not a puppy. You would be disingenuous to use a content tool writer that uses first person perspective. Because it's like you're using a robot. I mean, it's like ghostwriting. ghostwriting is the same. I have a problem with ghostwriting too, if I'm honest. I think the only reason why ghostwriting can work as a ethical tool is when you give the ghostwriter an actual outline using actual ideas, and the ghostwriter really is just putting the words on page to make it sound good. That would be my main, I think, approval for ghostwriting would be, just give them all the content and let them shape the words. If you can do the same thing with a robot, then it's fine. If you, and that's kind of what these content writers are in many ways like that. But where it gets a little fishy is you don't have to put a lot of words in there to get a lot of content. Like, they really can spin a yarn based on just a few words. And that's where I think I would be happier if you had to actually tell the writer or tell the AI writer what the content should be. Like, list all the key components that it should have. Because then, then it's about saving time and not about, deferring ideas. But anyway, that's kind of a basic overview of what I was thinking today. I just thought it was an important topic to discuss. And I do think that if we entertain the idea of content writing AI, we just need to have a good idea of why we would use it. And again, not to be lazy, but to be efficient. It would be the only reason why I think it would be useful. So the Thunder content I actually am tempted because, again, I think when it comes to research and engaging readers of side content that's related to whatever I'm working on, even if it's not the main thing I'm working on, the idea that I can get something quality on paper and save time doing it is attractive. And I don't think it's a bad thing to want to use that to your advantage. So if you are a writer, and if you're on this channel, there's a good chance that you are, unless you're a gamer looking for a streaming video that I haven't done in a long time now. Sorry if you're here for games. But if you're a writer and you're kind of struggling with this idea of content writing, bear in mind, it's not going away. So those of us who think that robots can never replace us, don't forget Blockbuster was once the leading rental franchise in the world. And then Netflix came along. And Blockbuster didn't think Netflix had a chance. So just, food for thought. The big, 5, New York, is kind of become the big 4 pretty soon, if it isn't already. Because, Amazon and ebooks, indie writers like you and me have, we're taking over the writing space. The bookstores are still full of the traditionally published, and that's where most of the money still is. But, those writers are jumping ship left and right because they realize they're not getting royalties like, us indies are. And if they have if they can take their traditional audience and go into indie, royalty space, like, why wouldn't they do that? So, the big 4, their big 3, whatever they are at now, they're constantly having to, buy each other out and reintegrate because it's just the space is it's shrinking too much. Borders closed a while back. Barnes & Noble, they're surviving, but it's, they've had to go through some major shakeups in order to survive. So it's, it's the kind of world we live in where you don't want to get complacent. Yes, robots can take over your job. They absolutely can take over your job. Do not think that you are so special that a robot can't do a pretty good job. Now, will they ever be you? No. Will they ever be able to do exactly what you can do? Unlikely. But here's one more consideration. The more robots that get out there and the more people who read their content, the more people will be conditioned to read robotic content, which means your work will be less popular. So, my contention is, don't worry about it. If you get an AI content writer and you have it help you, I'd be more concerned about how it's training your thinking, not your writing. Because, again, when you're focusing your mainline content on your product, you should absolutely put 100% of it yourself into it. For me, that's my novels and most blogs, most articles I do. But again, companion articles, I might be tempted. Because a companion article is something I don't really want to spend the time, investing in every week when I just want to write my dang story. But the the content writing might be a good way to bridge that gap, or even like the social media that I'm going to show you guys in a second. Again, I don't want to spend a lot of time on social media. I hate my social media, but I use it again because that's where readers are. But I don't particularly use it myself. I don't like it, so I use an autoscheduler to do most of my social media posts anymore. And that saves me some time having to be on social media, and it also allows me to send out tweets or Facebook messages at a time when people are going to be on, even though I might be working. So I don't have to be at the computer pressing send when I should be doing my job. So scheduling I think is again a really good tool to have. And one of the ones I've got is a scheduler that uses AI content writing in order to get the message sounding better. It's not perfect, but that's, again, you have to, as a human, you have to still judge the quality of the work, make sure you want to put your stamp on it. So it's not like you're going to press a button, spit out an article, and then post it, and it's all going to be good. You have to still intervene. So it's like I tell my students when they do their research papers is that you can do one of the citation generators, and it's probably going to be accurate, but you got to make sure. You got to at least still know the format. You need to know how to cite in order to judge whether or not the computer is doing the right job citing it. So at the end of the day, the robots, they're helpful, but they are not final. You're the final one. You are the one that must put the stamp of approval on things, and you're the one that's got to judge whether or not it's even worth doing that. So yeah, I think that we can use it responsibly, and I think it would be foolish not to either integrate it in our repertoire of writing services or whatever, especially if we want to build our blogs or our newsletters. But I also think too that we need to recognize the fact that at some point readers are going to expect robot written materials. They won't know it. They don't know that's what they're reading. But because it's going to be so keyword targeted, so precise, and it's going to eliminate a lot of the fluff that us regular writers like to add for voice effect. There's going to come a point where readers may not tolerate the type of stuff that we do, and we may not tolerate the kind of time we put into it. So the content writing, again, I think is a good way to mitigate that transition, but our work is still important so that the readers do not lose sight of what it means to read a human being's content. So again, for minor things, for helpful things, for quick things, I think it's probably okay to use it as a guideline or a support service. For your main job should always be you, and make sure your readers know that. And I would even go so far as to be upfront. If you write a blog post and you use an AI content writer to help you, you should probably disclaimer that. Just say, please note, and you can do it at the bottom. It doesn't have to be the top, but please note, most of this article, even though the writer had input in the final version, the core content was produced by, whatever content writer is you're using. That way, at least you're also being ethical and making sure your readers know that you're not taking credit for something a robot wrote. I think again, that's, for our credibility's sake, that's important. The other thing is that also I think keeps the balance between human writers and AI writers reasonable. If we stay accountable to the fact that our name is on it when it's us who wrote it, or we put the robot's name as the author, or we put I wrote this is article by Jeremy Rursi, assisted with was that Thunder Content, or by assistance from Thunder Content. Like, I think that's also fair, because that also gives the reader an idea that this is probably it's AI generated content, but it's content based on facts it's pulled from the internet, and so it's not inaccurate. Where it's just not me, because it's not, every word isn't me. It might be that I kind of organized or added my voice extra as a kind of a nice thing on the top, kind of like what I think James Patterson does when he co-writes with people. Is usually the co-writer is usually the actual drafter, and James Patterson comes and kind of cleans it up. and he's the one that ends up doing the marketing, because again, he's like a brilliant marketer. And I think he also does some of the editing too, because that's the other thing he's good at is editing. So, it's not like it's his story, but he's putting a stamp of approval on the story by going through and fixing it according to something that would fit the James Patterson brand. I think you can do the same thing with a content. If you have a content article you really like, but maybe you still want it to be yourself, maybe you can use that as like your kind of drafting point, and then you can go back and revise according to your voice. That's also, I think, reasonable. And at the end of the day, it would be your article, because your the content ultimately goes into it is your content, even though it's based on the ideas presented from the robot, which I still think you should credit. Again, coming from academia, you have to credit everything in academia. If it's not your idea, then it's somebody else's idea, and that person has to show up in your paper somewhere. So I would say it's probably fair to do the same thing for the AI content writing. Credit Thunder, whatever, credit email writer, credit writer, the ROITR, just somewhere in your post to make sure readers aren't tricked. So, and I think that's how you keep it accountable and keep it ethical. And then if they don't come back, then maybe don't use the tool anymore. Maybe put your own name on it again and use your own words. And if they do keep coming back, then it's fine and it works. Again, people came back to Netflix, they didn't go back to Blockbuster. So, Netflix just provided a better service, and Blockbuster, they didn't get it, and they lost it, and they lost everything. So do pay attention to what's going on in the times, and I think if we're responsible writers, then we're going to also be, we're going to keep our ear to the ground about what's new and what's upcoming, so that we're not lost. That we're not thrown in behind. And you can say the same thing about writing trends. I worked with a guy a few years ago who he wrote classic literature. Like, that was his thing. He got pissed off because one of my favorite series is it's a book. The series is called Chet and Bernie. It's the Chet and Bernie mysteries, and all the titles are play on words, dog puns from other historical titles. So like there's one called Sense and Sensibility. It's spelled SCENTS and Sensibility. And the reason why they do that is again, it's based on a dog. The narrator is a dog. So all the titles are dog puns, and it pissed him off because it's like, how dare you, interfere with the original title. And it's like, well, A, it's funny, it's a joke, but B, I just kept thinking, like, dude, like, it's the 21st century. No one's reading Jane Austen anymore. Or they might be reading Jane Austen, but they aren't reading Jane Austen's doppelganger. They're not, if you're writing a Jane Austen book nowadays in the 21st century, your readership is going to be small. It won't be zero, but it'll be small, because no one, reads that kind of work anymore. We don't have the attention span for it. So the idea is like, antiquated thinking will give you antiquated results. So that's my point in all of this is, this is where we're going. And I think really at the end of the day is if you can give proper credit to your tools, then I don't see any reason why you shouldn't use them. So anyway, that's my thought on AI content writing. It's not going to be for everybody. I'm tempted, but I haven't committed to anything. I don't know that I would use it, but if I did use it, I would probably use it for research and supplemental materials, because that's I just think useful. So anyway, before we go, I'm going to just show you this tool called Ocoya, just to kind of give you an understanding of what AI content looks like, and then and that'll be it. So I feel like this video has gone long enough. So I hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to do my sign off here, and then again, if you want to stay for the second half, go ahead and hang out. It'll be short. I'm not going to do an entire review on Ocoya. It might be like 3 to 5 minutes long, but I want to sign off here, so that if you don't care about Ocoya, you can go ahead and go. And if you do, then just hang on and look at the quick demonstration. But thank you again for watching. Do make sure you hit the bell, like, subscribe, do all the things YouTubers tell you to do. Tell me your feedback. Tell me what you think about AI content writing. Do you like it? Do you hate it? Tell me why. What do you think about the way technology is moving in our world, and how it's affecting writers, how it's affecting our jobs? Maybe you're not a writer. I don't know why you're watching this channel. Maybe there's some of the reason why you're watching this, but give me your feedback. What industry are you in? that you feel like AI is encroaching upon you. It's just an interesting thing to learn what people are going through and how AI has affected their livelihoods. Has it made your life better? Has it made it worse? Are you indifferent to it? How about your thinking? You find that you're having trouble thinking nowadays because of all the stuff that you're letting the robot do for you? How soon is it that we're gonna no longer know how to turn on a light ourselves? So, interesting questions to consider. But let me know your thoughts. And again, if you want to stay for the quick demonstration of Ocoya, hang out if you got all you needed. Have a good one. I'll see you next time. So anyway, that's all. Thanks. Bye. So this is what Ocoya is. It's essentially it's a social media scheduler that you can use AI content in order to help you write it. I'm not going to go through all the components of it. You can search it for yourself. But the main thing I'm coming over here to show you is the AI component to see if that's something that you feel is worth your time and effort. If it's something you even agree with. So if we go over to my Ocoya page here. This is what the thing looks like. So basically the Travis AI is what we're looking at as far as AI content goes. If we go over to the Travis AI content, I'm waiting for it to load. Come on, computer. Sorry, once again, I do these demonstrations at a time when my internet's the slowest. Apologize for the speed of things. What you can see here is it does give you some ideas of what you might do. So for example, if I were to do a YouTube video description on here, and I wanted to do the description on, let's say, don't want to use a brand name. We'll just call it, again, AI content writing tool. And then, actually, let's do this properly. Is it ethical to use content AI writing tools to write my text for this YouTube description? I think so. Okay, so if I generate my YouTube video description based on that, it will do it in English because of my thing here. If I look at my 5 choices it gave me, I do have the option to generate to more if I don't like them. But hi there, I am a content AI writing tool. No kidding. I write text for you so you don't have to. Please let me know if you need help with your next project and I'll be happy to assist. So, I mean, if that's not a good Travis AI calling card, what is? AI content writing tool is the best and most affordable way to write content for your blog, website, or social media. AI content writing tool is a revolutionary tool that helps you write content for your website, blog, or social media. Then this is just my title. I think it is ethical to use content AI writing tools to write my text for this YouTube description. This is the description I wrote for my video. Oh, this is good. The product brand is AI content writing tool. Is ethical to use content writing AI tools to write my text for this YouTube. What? That's weird. I think so. This is the description I wrote for my video. This one gave up pretty early on. I like this first part here a lot, and then the rest kind of blew up. But this is where, again, I could, if I wanted to, I could edit it and make a different one, or we can generate more and see if some other ones they give me are better. So you'll see that it continues on beyond. So AI content writing tools, the product brand is AI content writing tool. Is it ethical to use AI content writing tools? I probably gave this too much to work with. It's probably the problem. I think you want to do a statement rather than a question. This video about AI content writing tools. This product brand is AI content. So let's do this. Let's do a different generation because most of this is just bad in. Let's do Ocoya and let's see. I use this tool to create compelling YouTube video descriptions, including quite possibly the one you're reading now. All right, let's see what that does. And by the way, you can actually double check to see if I have used this AI content tool in my video. So if that's something you want to look into. Okay, so you'll see that it's adding on to what we already have. So I didn't erase the previous ones, it's just giving me more on top of it. So we're going to base it off of here. This is the description I wrote for my video. Ocoya is a new company that makes cooking utensils. They have a line of products called the Ocoya set. This set includes an egg slicer, garlic press, cheese grater. These tools are made with high quality stainless steel blades and will not rust or corrode over time. This is the description I wrote for my video. This product brand is Ocoya. No kidding. This easily create compelling YouTube video descriptions with the help of this tool. That one's actually reasonable. Ocoya is a company that sells high quality products for your hair. This product works to give you the best looking, healthiest hair. The Ocoya brush. I have a feeling I didn't set my categories. How am I going from kitchen utensils to hair products? I don't have hair. I don't know why I'd be selling a hairbrush if I don't even have hair. Ocoya is a company that sells high quality products for your hair. This product works to give you the best looking, healthiest hair. The Ocoya hairbrush has bristles made of boar's fur and nylon, nice, which are gentle on your scalp while still providing an effective deep cleaning action to eliminate dandruff and sebum buildup. Now, this is interesting. I don't know what that means, but if I were writing about hair products, I would actually want to look that up. These bristles also stimulate blood circulation in your scalp, giving you thinner or shinier hair. I already got thin hair. This video will show you how to create a compelling YouTube video description, including when you're reading now. So I have no idea what this is about, but if I were doing like a hair product, this would be things, going back to what I was saying about research, I might be interested in reading up more about sebum buildup, because I have no idea what that is, but now I'm curious. This is hilarious to me. So yeah, obviously AI's got a little more work to do. We're not quite at the point where we should be worried about our jobs if this is an example of the output it's doing, but you can see that what they've done with the text is pretty good. If I were writing about kitchen utensils, I would be worried about this, because this is pretty solid, nice content writing. Now, again, this is for social media. If I go to the main content board here, this is some of my examples. These are actual posts that I wrote. Now, this one I think was... I'm not sure if I used AI for any of these. I think I just used the scheduling tool for this. That's what this is mainly for, is for scheduling social media. But the point is you have an AI content element in there if you want it. So if I like create content, do a Facebook post. Yeah, I know this is going a little bit above and beyond what you sign up for, but I'm just kind of making a point here. Let's say if I want to use whatever this is. I'll just publish it. I don't really care what it says. When we're exploring, go to the ping format. And then if we go to edit or add a caption, this is where, again, I can generate my quotes. So maybe I want to generate an inspirational quote. So winter is the best time for thinking while walking. Okay, and then let's say if I generate the content, the hashtags, and the inspirational quote, we'll see what all I get from that. Winter's the best time for thinking while walking. It's cold and snowing outside, but you're warm and cozy inside. Enjoy a cup of hot cocoa by the fireplace. Keep your mind clear and flowing freely. Keep your thoughts alive all winter long with our new. Winter is the best time. Oh, you can add to that. Let's see what happens if I add. Oh, no, that's not what I wanted. All right. Winter is the best time for thinking while walking, and we've got our got your feet covered. Our winter boots are made. Nope. When is the best time to think while walking? Walking provides a great combination of both the benefits of exercise and mental stimulation, making it an ideal activity. When you need to get some work done outside, you can walk in your neighborhood or on your local trails. I like that one. Let's delete all that crap. Or I got set to edit it. Where did I... Here's where it stops. Okay. Alright, save. So that's how we edit that. And then we just have our basic things here. And then some of our trending hashtags. You can look at an example. Yellow. Wow. Oh, because of the thing there. I wouldn't use any of these. Life is too short for regrets. An author beyond his words is naked. That's very true. We are all right now, living the life we choose. Wish to be loved. Never regret. Something that you smile. Yeah. So, I mean, it's okay. I make the point here again, this isn't perfect, but the idea is there are some things you might get out of it. Obviously, it gives you an option to edit these things, so you can still put your own stamp on it. You can still change the words around. I'm not going to save this. This is ultimately not what I'm interested in. But but yeah, it's one of those things where AI content writing, it's around. It's going to get better, and it's even competent in some degrees. You know, would I necessarily use it for these posts? Again, I think it's a jumping off point. It gives me at least a foundation. The words, it came up with might have been ridiculous, but the structure is sound. And, if I just wanted to change the content out, swap out one, set of words for another in order to maintain the structure of the post, I mean, I might do that. Just, in order to, or at least use it as a jumping off point in order to figure out what I really want to say. So I don't think it's a bad thing. I think that it's ultimately, there are benefits to having this kind of technology in our corners. So yeah, I don't want to disparage AI content writing. I just, something that I'm tempted to disparage, because I think, how dare they encroach on my business? But I don't know. I think it's like any other tool. Like, if you can learn how to use it effectively, why not? So anyway, those are my thoughts on AI content writing. So if you continue to watch past my outro, then again, thank you, and let me know what you think of even this program. Heck, just me as well content on the program. Anyway, that's all for now. Hope you guys have a happy new year, and tell me how your year went. So have a good one. Until next time. Bye.